I'm Luke Kelly, and I'm the founder of the Line and Length movement, dedicated to ripping the covers off mental health stigma. After a rough spell with my mental health, I contacted a large number of mates to come together to play a game of cricket with a very unique point of difference. In between innings, a supportive platform was provided where those who felt comfortable showing vulnerability openly spoke about their personal mental health journey. Thus, the Line and Length movement was born. While we are not mental health experts on this podcast, we are always here to support. So if you or anyone you know is feeling a bit flat, please have a talk to the experts like Lifeline, Beyond Blue, or a medical professional. Today's episode is sponsored by Picker Financial Solutions. The support that Justin Picker is providing will go a long way in assisting the Line and Length movement in ripping the covers off mental health. While we here at Line and Length focus on mental health, Picker Financial Solutions can help you with your financial health. The details for his website will be in the notes for this show. And now onto this week's episode of This Is Your Line and Length.
All right, guys, welcome to this week's episode of This Is Your Line and Length. I'm your host, Aiden, joined here by Luke Kelly, and we've got Cameron Breust on here as well as this week's guest. How are we today, gentlemen?
G'day, mate. Yeah, greetings from Darwin. It's good to be up here. So I'm recording from so far away, so it's good to talk to you. It's good to see some familiar faces.
Cameron,
some familiar voices.
Good afternoon, boys. Down here in Wagga Wagga, same thing. We've had a fair bit of rain, but it's good to see the sun out for the first time in about 4 days.
Certainly is.
Beautiful.
So before we get into it, Cam, how is it that you and Luke know each other?
Well, Luke, it's a bit of a funny story.
Isn't it, Just?
I was born and bred in Wagga. Moved away a little bit, blah blah. But yeah, Kel, come back to Wagga and just started a little a cricket team, and we had a couple of guys that were from Kel's school, Wagga Wagga Public, and there was a couple of games where we were short, which turns into we're short most weeks. And Kel was one of the boys that got dragged along one week, and that's kind of where it all started, and everyone kind of clicked. It was a good little crew, and we've been really, really good mates since.
That's right.
And what are you currently doing for work, mate?
So I work for the TAB. So I'm a regional manager. So I look after Southwest New South Wales for the licensed network. So meaning just I manage all the pubs and clubs in the area. Got a few contractors underneath us, like just field technicians and that. We got a lot of equipment that needs servicing day to day, and then just manage their accounts. So big area, so a fair bit of travel. But yeah, it's different every day at the tab.
I can imagine. And Kels tells me that you had a bit of a rugby league career as well.
Yeah, so grew up playing rugby league all my life. I was fortunate enough to have rugby league as a job for a few years. Tried to live that dream for a bit. So I finished school here in Wagga and got picked up by the Raiders. So I finished off 11 and 12 over there in Canberra. Had a few years with the Raiders juniors, SG Ball, under 20s. And then got picked up by Parramatta. So shipped off to Para for a couple of years as well. I was lucky enough to gain into the top squad. So I trained NRL for 18 months, which is a really good experience. And then the injury started setting in, and bit of a climb, went across to the Dragons. So played New South Wales Cup for the Illawarra Cup. That was the first year that they come back into the competition. So Mary McGregor was our coach down there, and played a bit of footy down there. And then it was time got a good job opportunity to come back to Wagga. Took that, and the rest is history.
What's that like, sort of at the age of like 16, 17, having to move to finish year 11 and 12 in a new city? What was that like for you?
It was quite tough. Canberra was really good for us because Canberra was only 2 hours from home. So it's when you wanted to duck home, see the family, it was quite easy. And Raiders had a really good system. So we actually got put up with families. So I moved into a family. It was a family of 5. So it was a single mum, Therese Edwards. So she was brilliant. But there was 4 boys, all from 17 to about 30, I think the eldest one was, and every single one of them were different. So they were good to live with for a couple of years. And yeah, that was a great family community kind of thing. And being we're back home, where our family are tight as, so it was good to have that family connection there as well.
What's it like, sort of having that mentality of professional sort of athlete? Like, you know, how we talk a lot about sort of mental resilience and mental health here on the podcast. What was your headspace at moving for the opportunity to get to play for the Canberra Raiders, and then to Para, and then to St George as well?
Yeah, it was good. It's tough, like, because it's something you do every day. So, but no different to your job, I suppose. But there's a lot of physical training, like your wrestling. There was a fair bit to go with it. Being a small boy, the contact side of things wasn't my favourite thing to do. But no, it was good. It was a great experience, and you learnt, like, you met so many good mates, like you've got for lifetime. Around the traps, and I think the hardest thing was obviously just moving a lot over that space of 4 or 5 years. So yeah, you'd have to kind of start again, make your new friends. So it was taxing, but because if you like kind of you weren't mentally prepared, you really fell behind quite quickly. Back then it probably wasn't such a big thing, your mental health. We're talking probably 10 years ago now that we're in the thick of things. But now, it's changed so much. Like there's a lot of good things about it. Like obviously what you guys are doing, that's a great thing. But the NRL, they're getting right behind it, which is really good.
And when you were training there, did you have a second job, or were you just footy was it for you? Like, was there a backup plan at any stage, or was it just footy or nothing?
At the stage, like you were every kid that had that dream, so footy was everything. I, like in the juniors, obviously had a job, so I did a bit of merchandising for my mum works for Diageo, which is an alcohol company, so I did a bit of merchandising for them in Canberra. Just like servicing the bottle shops and just a bit of tick and flick stuff. So that was good. So then you balance that through your training, but at that stage we were only training those 4 nights a week. It wasn't day in, day out, so you could afford to make a bit of pocket money on the side, because obviously the contracts weren't huge. So that was really good to do a little bit of stuff on the side, because once footy is everything, it's pretty tough.
So were you mandated to have a backup job, or did you just do that on your own accord?
So I just did that on my own accord, but they really did push that. They were really good in that aspect. So for example, when I moved across to Para when I was a little bit older, it was mandatory for the younger guys to either be studying or have that second job. Otherwise they didn't, which was really good. There was courses, like once you got up a little bit further, like basically endless amount of courses, and they encouraged that as well. So that was really good. Like, but that's what I did my cert 3 and 4 at Para. Like that was a little at a bonus, which was good. Like, and they covered most of the courses as well. So they obviously strongly encouraged all your education, however you wanted to further yourself for later in life, kind of thing, which was really good.
Yeah, that's great to get add those initiatives. Really good.
It sounds like they support the sort of education side and sort of a life after rugby side. Did they give you that support for sort of your mental health as well?
Back then, I don't think like it's a really tough one, because like back then, like it kind of got brushed aside. Like not many people obviously spoke about their feelings. Not many people opened right up like it is today. So back then, I don't think like it wasn't recognised, I suppose, as much as it should have been. Because like I've got wrote down a little stat here. Like the year I think I was in the under 20s, I think there's about 4 or 5 guys that took their lives that year, which is huge, and that's only in the rugby league community. So I don't think it was as big back then as it is now. But obviously now it's a lot for the better, which I think is awesome.
That's such an alarming stat, Cam. Just to hear that, like that's the first time you've shared that with me. Like that's like sickening to hear. You know, like this is such a big issue in society that sort of needs addressing.
Yeah, big time. Like there was a guy in our team at Raiders that took his life up at Byron. So that was quite sad. So it just was, it's very alarming.
Yeah, horrific.
It's unfortunately something we've all sort of been involved in or had happen to some of us. We had a mate up at our rugby club who unfortunately took his own life as well. And we got to lean on each other, which was kind of nice. Like we all helped each other get through that sort of experience. Is that sort of the community that you had with your rugby league experience as well? Like everyone would band together during those sort of moments?
Yeah, definitely. It was like they were a very close-knit family. And I know it wasn't recognised as much back then, but there was that support mechanism. Like there's a welfare manager that obviously checked in with the guys, like because I was obviously not from there. There's a fair few guys obviously that weren't from there as well. So we had a welfare manager that looked in and checked in with us basically every week, which was really good. So once something happened like that, we were quite fortunate in Sydney. There was pretty good crew there, so there wasn't a whole lot of, well, not that we all were aware of anyway. So if anything was to go wrong, it was a good little community that got together and tried to help each other out where they could.
Kels also tells me you had a little bit of troubles in your own past, that you had some interesting techniques on how to sort of move forward from that. Would you care to share about those?
Yeah, of course. Like I think the best thing that I did for myself was to talk about it. I had a big gambling addiction. Kind of ate myself up for a long time. Just obviously keeping it to myself, even though now that I've spoke about it, like most people are, like all my loved ones were quite aware of the issue. That went on for a few years. It's a pretty big thing in rugby league, which is a bit unfortunate, but so a lot of time seems to get put around punters clubs and piss and punt days on the sad days. So kind of being only the little guy in rugby league, you're kind of hanging with guys that were on 10 times the amount that you're on, and you just kind of got swept away in the moment. I know we were taught different, but the respect side of things for money kind of went out the window. So I didn't respect it as much as I probably should have. Just with a couple of things, but I definitely over that, which is really good. And the best thing I did was, and I can't harp on it enough, was to talk about it. So the first time that I admitted that it was a big issue was to my partner Kate and my mum, who's probably the two closest people in my life. It was honestly the hardest, but the best thing that I ever did, because obviously they knew that what was going on, but it was hard when I wasn't admitting it myself. So I got pretty dark for a while, but with the support of them, it made it so much easier. I can't believe I didn't do it sooner.
Cam, it's really weird how, like you say, you built it up in your head as like a big thing, and then you finally spoke to Kate and your mum about it. Whereas now, like being friends with you, I know that you're just casually in a group of people. You might only know a few, but you'll say, "Oh yeah, I had a gambling addiction, but like I've stopped now." Like it's not even. It's sort of just comes naturally in conversations where you're not embarrassed about it at all. And I think that's a really brave and powerful thing that you do and can help people, because as much as we need to sort of learn from each other, essentially. And also I sort of want to mention, Cam, like a thing with us was that I remember like once you asked me to you verbalized it to me that you had a gambling problem, and it's before you got treatment, and you asked me once to put a bet on for you, and I said no. And I think that sort of when our friendship really took off and went places, we sort of had that level of, well, we respect each other enough to say no. What advice would you have to someone with a gambling addiction or something like that?
Oh, 100%. I think that's when we got the closest. Like I think like Kate, my partner, she harps on it so much. Like surround yourself with good people. And I think for a long time I was not hanging around the right people. Like I think I hung around people that obviously that kind of fed the ego, fed the addiction, which was not good. And there was a couple that I opened up to about it, and the care factor was kind of zero. I said, no, you'll be right. Like the old cliche, the more you bet, the more you get back. The more you hit, the more you win. So yeah, like that day that I obviously asked you to put on a bet, you said no. I think the respect levels just went up, and to hear like my family, they like that was the first thing I told them was when I asked you to do it, you said no. That, like same thing, they're just like get yourself, hang around these people, like they're obviously very very good for you. And yeah, I think that's the best thing you can do is open up and talk to people about it, because it really lifts. Like you have no idea. Like there was nights where me and Kate had stuff planned and you'd blow your money, so you'd make an excuse, but you really beat yourself up about it. And then, but the other side of things was your mood. Your mood was horrible. Like, yeah, like, and your loved ones were the ones that copped it. And I think it was so unfair. And to be constantly lying about it too, I think was the hardest thing. Like to realize now that you're so open, and it is a common thing, and it is treatable, and it's definitely all right to talk about it. I've like me talking about it, that's helped me the most, because if I can help anyone, and I think what you guys are doing is perfect, because getting it out there, talking about it is the best thing, because there's so many people that are going through the same thing, and if they're not aware and they're like that the support mechanisms are out there, it's unbelievable what it can do to just talk about it, I reckon.
Yeah, there's a saying that goes around like, if you hang around 4 drunks, you'll be the 5th drunk. If you hang around 4 millionaires, you'll be the 5th millionaire. I think in your sense, what you alluded to is like, if you kept hanging around 4 problem gamblers, you'd be the 5th problem gambler. And so that's really good to hear that you've sort of aligned yourself with people that you seem beneficial for you. I think that your social network plays such an impact on the person who you become and who you choose to be around.
Yeah, definitely. Like that's perfect, because now I'm a little bit older, a little bit wiser in some aspects. Like you know as well, you know what's good for you. You just, yeah, it's pretty straightforward now. You know who's good for you, you know who's not, and about making those right choices as well.
I think that also kind of speaks to a pretty common thread we've had along sort of all now 7, this being the 7th episode, is that a lot of people, when they're going through hardships, mental health struggles, things like that, they kind of put off telling other people because they don't want to be viewed as a burden. But as soon as they do tell someone, they realize that they're not being a burden at all, and it actually it opens up and activates that support network that you get. So I guess, talking to people is one of the best things about it, and I think that everyone should do it. So I think it's a credit to yourself that you got the courage to be able to start with your mum and your wife and get that started, and then branch out. And now you're comfortable telling everyone about it and encouraging people to get help. I think that's a great thing for yourself.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's I can't half on it enough. Talk about it. Get off the like in my circumstance, and I suppose would be with so many others listening to some of the previous podcasts that you guys have had. Like for a good example, Bear last week, like just talk about it earlier, and it's something like
it's liberating, isn't it? It's liberating.
Mate, we've spent a bit of time saying how we should talk about this sort of problem. Were there any other strategies that you used, or anything that helped you progress past your gambling addiction?
So I seen a counsellor, like, so obviously once I opened up to my partner and mum and family, I was seeing a counsellor once a week. That really helped, because I think my biggest thing was getting it off the chest as well. But I went and got hypnotised.
Okay. Which is great. I love it. I was going to bring this up if you didn't, so I'm glad you brought it up, because I reckon it's really cool.
So my partner Kate, who I've spoken about a fair bit, she's helped me a lot. And one of her suggestions were one of her aunties got hypnotised for something completely different, but for weight loss, and she really thought it worked. So I went off to Sydney a couple of times with Kate, and so I got it once, and they recommend getting it another time within that week. It was really different. I can laugh about it now, I suppose. It was really different. Exactly how you imagine it. Like, basically sat down, and she basically said, like, I can do the coin, but she used more of it was a meditation technique, and yeah, it was different. Like I honestly don't remember anything because she put me straight to sleep. So whether it worked or not, it obviously worked now because I'm nowhere near as bad as what I used to be. But yeah, very, very different.
Yeah. So your wife was the one that brought it up. Did you, I mean, personally, if someone had suggested something like being hypnotized to solve something I've gone through, I'd probably laugh that off. That would probably be my initial reaction to that.
That's exactly the same.
And did you just decide, look, why not? If it helps, it helps, and if it doesn't, cool. It's just something that doesn't work for me. Was that your sort of mindset going into it?
Yeah, I think so. Because when we got to a stage where I was really good for 12 months, like seeing a counsellor constantly, and then same thing, the old, nah, I'm right now. Fell back into some bad habits a couple of years ago, and yeah, so I think the family got to a point where it was either stop lying about it or really do something about it. So basically anything that was suggested at the time, I was like, let's do it. Let's try it. I've done the counsellor thing. It's worked, but it hasn't. But after the, like, obviously I seen the hypnotist and continued with the counselling. And I think just whether it work, like I know it's obviously a massive mental thing, but like just little tricks, like when you get a little bit of an urge or if you felt a bit sad or whatever it may be, there was a couple of little mechanisms. One of them was tap your chin, tap your cheek, tap your temple, and then really clench your fists. And that was kind of something that I used for a long time. Whether people think it's silly or not, I don't care because it worked for me. Same thing. Like you get those thoughts, and literally people think I'm weird, start tapping and really clench.
Mate, that's what we're all about. Whatever works for you, it's not weird. It's whatever works for you. We get around.
Yeah, we've heard a variety of different strategies, and that honestly, that sounds like a great one to have. If that's what it works for you, then that's all that matters.
Yeah. So yeah, literally was asleep for the 2 hour set or hour sessions, whatever they were. But that's what I got out of it was the tapping technique.
Okay. All right.
Cam, I'm gonna change the direction of this, Cam. I know that you work as a PT, right? Personal trainer as well down there, not just for the tab. You're a very busy person. You playing footy, you work for the tab, and you also work as a PT. I want to just get your opinion on what physical exercise in terms of diet have on mental health. Like, what have you seen, not just for yourself, but what you've seen on the people that you train?
Yeah, sweet. So PT is honestly one of my favorite things to do. Like for myself first, like it's kind of my get out. Like sometimes work can be so hectic. I do a lot of travel for work. Like I can do up to 2,500 Ks a week for work, and going to the gym and just forgetting about everything for it's I'm only there for an hour and a half. I do 2 classes twice a week, and it's so much fun. But then for everybody else in society, like exercise has so many benefits. Not only like for your physical health, but mental. Like perfect example. Like it stimulates the brain, which obviously stimulates the chemicals that improve your mood and parts of the brain, which are responsible for your memory and learning. But like so much more to it. Like it enhances your mood. You could be having the shittest day and you just want to work out. But around people, like I do group classes, so I find group classes really encouraging. Like you can just see someone having the worst day, or they'll tell you about having a bad day, and getting them in there and just letting them forget about it for 45 minutes whilst, I call it fun, but not many other people think it's fun. And I've made so many friends like that. And it's really good because they're nothing to do with footy, they're nothing to do with work. It's just people I probably would have never met if it wasn't for the gym. And I'm grateful for that, to have that experience. Like I think it's so much fun, and it has so many benefits. As I said before, like it stimulates basically everything in the body for the most positive reasons.
Yeah. And what about in terms of diet as well, Cam? Like I know that you like to do you're a bit like me, you like to try a few different diet fads and stuff like that. What advice have you got in terms of that? What do you think that plays an impact on your mental health?
Yeah, 100%. Like same thing. It's just such a mood enhancer. Like if you stick to a healthy diet, like you're setting yourself up for few mood fluctuations. But overall, like a happy outlook. Like, and I think the biggest is your ability to focus. Like you're eating shit food, you're in the worst mood. It's horrible. You just feel like a slug sometimes. And like, but that's nothing like that's the same as the drink. Like it makes you feel sluggish. And same thing, but the energy levels will probably be the biggest for me. Like with a healthier diet and staying hydrated, like your energy levels are just not through the roof, but like they're sustainable, and it just makes you feel so much better throughout the day. So it gives you obviously a clearer mind as well. But diet and fitness go together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cam, I want to kind of bring it back to the sort of rugby league, the community, the sort of family thing that you've really sort of mentioned throughout this podcast. What do you value most about the sort of getting around each other and the sort of support of whether it be the rugby league community, your mates at PT or your family? What do you get the most out of that?
I feel the most like I heard you guys speak about it a couple of times on your different episodes. Like just like guys that have moved to town that have got absolutely no one, so they're going home to themselves. They've got no one else. So like getting around those guys and making them feel like comfortable. It's really rewarding as well. Like being one of the senior guys, like I captain coach last year for the first time, one of the first grade teams here in Wagga, and it was a great learning experience because like you're coaching, you're one of the boys, but then you got to find that right balance between being a friend, being a coach kind of thing. And for the younger fellas, like I remember when I was 15, 16, like you looked up to those first grader guys in your club. So setting those right examples as well, and getting around those guys, like it'll make your day, like going up, helping a little 15 or 16-year-old, like it'll make their day, like, and you don't realise how big of a benefit that has on their lives as well, making them feel well, etc.
Yeah, Cam, just adding, like, seeing the way you operate, something I referred to in my podcast was empathy. And I see that you show so much empathy to anyone. It doesn't matter, who they are. It doesn't matter what, I guess, status in society they've got. You'll show everyone the same amount of respect. And that's something that I really think that a lot of people could learn, especially from you, is that everyone sort of deserves to be treated equally. Everyone's got their own story, don't they? And you don't know how much of an impact just the kind little things that you do can have on their day. And I see that with you in terms of you just get around people. It doesn't matter who they are.
Yeah, no, definitely agree. And me and you, we've spoken about this so many times. Like our cricket team was a perfect example of this. Like we've got so many cool kids that we can call upon and have that experience to play within a team. Like we don't care how good you are.
Yeah.
Like some
we couldn't care less. Yeah.
And like the best thing about it is like you see how much they love it. Like you see how much joy it brings to them. And like I just feel like I've seen it too many times being in a sporting environment where someone's just trying to feel a part of something and someone puts them down and you see like how much of an effect, like someone might leave training or someone might, like it's just sad to see. So I'm a massive believer, and I know you are too, of getting around everybody, because like to some people, like some of the guys in our cricket team, like that's what they look forward to every week, and like that's their day out, that's their self-care, whatever you want to call it, like, and getting around them, like it doesn't only make you feel better about yourself, but it makes their day as well, and I find that the biggest.
Yeah,
that you get something out of it as well, mate.
Yeah, no, definitely. It honestly, like it. Yeah, we got a couple of cool kids that we like. Me and Kel would take them to the nets, didn't we, Kel?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they don't have licenses and stuff like that, so we, go out away and pick them up, and because we just that they'd enjoy it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
It's such an awesome attitude to have as well. And I guess in I'm from Sydney, so I don't kind of get the sort of smaller community side of things like you boys do, being from Wagga, and I think that's awesome to hear that you get around those that, they might not have a car to drive to the nets, or they might not have sort of mates because they've just moved down there, and you just support them. I think that's an awesome thing. Cam, I've got a bit of a question to ask. If you had a piece of advice to ask to tell yourself when you were a teenager, what advice would you give?
No second chances. That's probably my biggest one. I probably was probably nearly too good of a spot for a while. Kind of everything was kind of given to me. Like a perfect example, I took the piss out of my uni degree, or what you'd call a uni degree. Like footy paid for everything, so I kind of just really took the piss out of it a fair bit. Like I think just once you've got something, like really just jump at it. Opportunities, especially sport wise, whether it's educational, depending on what financial, depending on what your situation in life is. Like I just think no second chances. Once you get an opportunity, run with it.
And final question for you, Cam. What have you learned about coming on this podcast?
How easy it is to chat to you guys. What I learned today, I want to just say how good, like what you two are doing. Like I think it's fantastic. Like getting it out there, like having been the opportunity to chat about your problems that are now turned into positives. Like, because if we can help so many more people that are either going through what we've gone through, or whether it was that are going through something at the time, like letting them know that anyone's happy to help. Like it's not frowned upon, I suppose, to talk about it. So I think this is a very positive experience. So I suppose, I want to thank you guys for letting me talk about it. And I think you two are doing a real good job.
Mate,
hey, pleasure's ours. I've loved this. This is great.
Thank you very much for coming on, mate. I appreciate you coming on and be so sort of willing to tell your story as well. It's going to help, and hopefully, we can help some people who out there might be listening and may be experiencing a gambling issue themselves, and they take from your story and they start reaching out to people and asking for help.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a company down in Kiama that it's a massive one. I think it's not weak to speak. I think it's a good one to take out.
Yeah, it's a good motto, isn't it? You ain't weak to speak.
Guys, I think it's a really great spot to sort of wrap this up. Cam, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. It's been great chatting with you, and sort of anyone who's listening, if you do want to be a part of this and you have a story that you'd like to share, please reach out to myself and Kel. We're more than happy to have people on, and no story is too small or too big to be able to sort of sit and listen to and have a bit of a chat about that. But look forward to hearing all of you next week. That is the latest episode of This Is Your Line and Length, a supportive networking platform designed for relatable people to share their mental health story and start the normalization of mental health conversations in society. If this podcast has made you realize that yourself or a friend would benefit from having a talk, please do reach out to the pros like Lifeline, Beyond Blue, or a medical professional. Links to support networks are in the show's notes. In the meantime, subscribe to the show, throw us a like, look after your lid, and look forward to the next episode of This Is Your Line and Length.